Hi everyone, this is Mike Eblowitz from SoftSteel. Today we're going to show you a program called SoftScan. SoftScan is a program that will take any bill of material from any DWG file and create a file for exporting or importing into your MIS software such as FabTrol, Fabsuite, Structural Software, Steel 2000, EJE, ROMAC. It'll even create Microsoft Excel spreadsheets, and it has a full suite of reports for the fabricator that doesn't have any software. To start off with, let's take a look at a drawing. I have a drawing number 8 here with a bill of material on it. The first thing we got to do with SoftScan is teach it how to recognize your bill of material. This is basically teaching SoftScan to look for headings in the bill of material. So we start off by clicking the settings, and we go to first of all, my input and output folders are ACAD drawings. I'm going to import from DWG files. We can also import from DXF files. We can also import from KISS files. And if we import from a KISS file, we can then export to any other format. So it's a way of translating a file. We can even import from an Excel spreadsheet and create a KISS file as the export option. Okay, and then we have different reports that we can put out with the system, and the headings and the criterion for the nesting report. So I'm going to use 40s, 50s, and 60s with a 2-foot drop and a 1/4-inch kerf on the saw. If we do reports, I like to put a heading at the top of it. This is the particular heading that I'm going to use. So let's go to bill of material. And the first thing we need to look for is a title at the top of the bill of material. So we come down to titles. And we have the word bill of material. Spaces don't matter. So if I have the word bill of material in the list, then it'll recognize it as a bill of material. If I add something new, then it'll recognize that as the title for the bill of material. So no matter what you have at the top of your bill, if you add to this list, SoftScan will recognize everything underneath it as your bill of material. The next thing we need to do is teach SoftScan how to recognize the individual fields within your bill of material. My first field is the quantity field. I have the heading QTY. So as long as that heading is in the list, it'll recognize it. If you have something different, like quantity new, just simply add it to this list, and then it'll be recognized as a quantity field. Once it knows that this is a quantity field, it knows where the lines are in the bill of material, so everything between the line to the left and the right of the QTY heading will be a quantity. Then we want to do the same thing for the mark field. We add the word ship mark or whatever you happen to have. We also have a piece mark field. Some people have their mark field as a single field, which is fine. My drawing has them as 2 separate fields. Then we want to do the same thing for the description. So you have the word description on the list, and I put it there. Now we had a customer that sent us a couple hundred drawings complaining that SoftScan wouldn't scan any of the drawings. We turned on the troubleshooter and we found out that it wasn't finding the description field. And the reason why it wasn't finding it was on his template, he had the heading description misspelled. He had it spelled as DIS. So we simply added that misspelled heading to the list by clicking Add Field Header, and now it recognizes the misspelled heading. Much easier than correcting 100 drawings. And we can also have the length field. You just simply have the word length. Some people have a separate foot and inch field when it's done in imperial. We can do that as well. You just combine or concatenate all the headings from both fields together, and it'll recognize both fields. You can have a remarks field, a notes field, and a weight field. And some of the other fields you can have is a division block for sequencing. You can have a unique and separate finish field and grade field, although we typically pull the finish and the grade from the remarks field. And we also look in the description field for the finish and the grade. You can have a material category field if you're using this for estimating, and you can have sequencing. Okay. Now the next thing we want to do is teach SoftScan to recognize different kinds of material. The first letter in a description is called the type code. And you're starting to sense that this program can be used for anything besides steel. All you have to do is populate these lists with the things that are unique to that particular trade that you're using SoftScan for, which in this case is structural steel or miscellaneous steel. So here we have wide flange shapes. So I add the type code W to the list for main members and for attachments, and then it'll recognize W shapes. The same thing for TS or HSS or whatever else you want to add. If you add a new type code called new type, you can add it to the list. I already have it in the list. So you can add, oh, that belonged down here, I'm sorry. You add it up here. And now it's added to the list, and now I'll remove it. Now the type codes that you're looking at here require some kind of dimensional fields as part of their shape name. For example, a W is expected to have something by something. In this case, a 12 by 96. You can also have type codes that have no dimensions required. For example, I added new type. Whatever that happens to be, no dimensions are required. You add to this list, SoftScan will process it and export it. Okay, let's remove that. Okay, now we're going to come down to bolts and grades. Again, this is user-defined by adding it to the list. So we have the American grades here. We have A572, A992, A36. If you're dealing with British or European or Japanese shapes, you simply add those grades to this list and it'll recognize them. Here I have a Canadian grade. Once the grade is in this list, you can add a new one anytime you want by clicking Add. Once the grade is in this list, SoftScan will look for it in the remarks field, the description field, and the unique grade field if you happen to have one. The same thing for bolts. We have A490, A307, A325 slip critical. Anything that's in this bolt list, SoftScan will recognize as a bolt and report on it accordingly. You can add anything you want to this list, and once you add it, it becomes a bolt in the system. Now, on a particular shop drawing, a detailer will typically just put a note that says all steel is grade 836 unless noted. SoftScan only looks in the bill and in the title block for its information. It doesn't look at the sketch. So we have to tell it about the default grades of steel. So, for example, for W shapes, my default is A992, which means if there's a grade in the remarks field, the grade field, or the description field, that takes priority. If there's nothing found in the bill of material, then it'll default to A992. If the type code is not on the list, then it'll default to whatever's filled out here, which is A36. You can add new type codes and assign new default grades, and you can change the grade anytime you want. And then you can change the grade here. Okay, now in AutoCAD drawings, it's very typical for detailers to use fonts. I'm using a font called Detail Big. When I write the dimension 39 5.5, I don't type 1/2 to get that stacked fraction. What I do is type 5tilde8. In my particular font, it knows that tilde8 is a stacked fraction 1/2. So what I do for the mapping, first I choose my font. If your font's not on the list, then create a new font and click New, and it'll add it to the list. Okay, we're going to stick with Detail Big. And if I type tilde8 and then type the mapping 1/2 and add it, it'll add it to this list and then it'll translate it. So you want to map all your fractions. I also mapped NS to Nelson stud. And in other things like HSB, which is a high-strength bolt, I mapped that to A325. Here's another spelling correction. One of our customers had the word filed instead of field bolts. So we simply did a mapping or a translation. We said map filed to field, and then click Add Mapping, and then it corrected all the spelling mistakes. Much easier than correcting all the drawings. Okay, then we come down to the other screen. These are our sequencing options. Right now I'm not using any sequencing, but if you want sequencing, if you have sequencing in the bill of material and you want to report on it, you got to choose which method you're going to use. We can use division blocks, which is where you put the sequences to the left or the right of the bill of material. you can do as a unique field in the bill of material. You can use my favorite, which is 100 and 1000 series, which means piece marks 100 through 199 is sequence 1, 200 through 299 is sequence 2, and so on. Same thing for 1000. We also have a dash method, where you could say 8A-1. The piece mark is just 8A, but it knows the sequence is 1 and it pulls it off it. You can do imperial or metric drawings. We'll do imperial for now. Imperial or metric output. Now we need a way of differentiating one assembly from another if you have more than one sketch on a drawing. I'm going to use something called digits and letters, which means the main member starts with a number and all the attachments, whether upper or lowercase, start with a letter. The blank lines, again, don't matter because we never know if there's going to be blank lines or how many there's going to be. So when we hit 8A, since it's a number, we know it's the beginning of a new assembly, and all these items are attached to that assembly until we hit a new line that starts with a number again. You can also use separate bill of material fields, which would have worked equally well in this drawing, but not everybody has separate fields for the shipping mark and the piece mark. You can also do upper lowercase, where the main member starts with an uppercase letter, and the attachments start with a lowercase letter. Okay, so we'll use digits and letters. We'll do include revision. Okay, now we also have a miscellaneous list. Anything that you purposely want to be an MI item, you add it to this list. And you click add. I already have stare in here somewhere. There it is. And it'll automatically make that an MI item without trying to interpret it any further. You could also have different finishes. You add it to this list and it'll look for this particular finish in the remarks field, the description field, a unique finish field if you have one. Special fields is for looking for things in your actual title block. Right now I'm extracting the sheet number from the piece mark, but that's not always the correct thing to do. So I'm going to tell it to look in the title block by looking for this heading, sht.no. So for the sheet number, I told it to look for sht.no. And then I click add label. I already have it in a list. So you can look for the revisions, the drawing name, the project name, the fabricator. Anything you want can be pulled out of the title block and included in the KISS file. The customize section is different switches for turning on different options. For example, I have the integrity check turned on. The integrity check will look for possible errors in the bill of material, missing quantity, missing length. It'll look for a piece mark P1 on sheet 1, and if it sees it again on sheet 3 and it's physically different, it'll flag you as to all the differences because P1 should be the same throughout the project. You could tell it to do tab drawings where it's got 100 drawings as one DWG file. You could tell it to look for multiple bills of material on the same drawing. So these are all different options you can turn on and off, and we're adding options all the time. Here we have an option for titleless scanning. If you click that on, then you don't even have to have this title bill of material at the top of the drawing. It'll find the bill of material without it. Okay, now manage settings. You could take the configuration you just created and save it under a name. So if you're a detailer that works for different fabricators, you can have different settings for different fabricators if they're completely different and you need different settings for them. Then at any time you can load that configuration by clicking Set as Current. Okay, let's go ahead and scan some drawings. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do DWG files as my input, KISS files as my output. The project number is going to be Core Dynamics. You can browse for your drawings. And then I'm going to put it in a separate output folder called SoftScan. And I'm going to select just the shop drawings. I'm not going to scan the CM drawings, and I'm not going to scan placement or erection drawings. Go ahead and click Scan. And when it's all done, it tells you if you have any warnings or any errors. This is a demo, so of course everything's perfect. And there's the KISS file. Just so you know, this is a separate file that's written to the folder that we told it to write it to. and the name of the file in this case was called coredynamics.kss. You could take this file and put it on a jump drive, or you can email it to your customer. It's just a simple TXT or text file. It consists of the heading lines followed by all the lines in the bill of material. So here I have my first D line. The sheet number is 1, the revision number is 1, the main mark is 1A, the quantity is 1, the type code is W. It's a 14 by 370, that's for sheet 1. I got sheet A on the screen. The grade is A992. That's the length in millimeters, and square cut 2 ends. Let's go down to sheet A so it matches what's on the screen. Okay, so you can see there it's a 12 by 96, followed by the plate P3. There's 1, type code PL. It's a plate 3/4 by 13. The grade is 836 by the length in millimeters. This file, with one click of the mouse, will import into FabTrol and totally eliminates the tedious task of typing all the bills of material into FabTrol, Fabsuite, EJE, ROMAC, Steel 2000, or whatever MIS program you're using. In addition, we'll do an integrity check of the bill of material. We'll look for missing information that's required, such as the quantity, the length, the description, and so on. If you have a piece marked P1 on sheet 1 and have it again on sheet 3 and it's different, we'll flag you the fact that it's not standard for the project. In addition to the KISS file, we're going to get these reports. If you didn't have the weight filled out in the bill of material, it'll automatically be figured and extended for you, and the weights will be totaled for each assembly. This is good information for loading your trucks. If you have bolts in your bill, it'll give you a bolt summary list. It'll give you a connection material list. For example, P10, there's 12 of them. It's a bar, 3/8 by 4. Each one's 11.5 inches long. Then we have the connection material ordering list telling you how to order this material. So if you have 3/8 by 3.5 inch bar stock, you need 71 foot 10 total linear feet, and that's the total weight. Connection material reference report for piece mark P10, there's 12 of them total, 3 of them on 7A, 3 of them on 7B, and so on. This is a great report, not just for the detailer, but for the fabricator as well, because it shakes out the material. If you're looking for all your P10s, this list tells you exactly where to find them. For the shop, they can decide to only make 6 of them now, because they know they're not fabricating the other piece marks at this point. The field bolt, if you have bolts in your bill, it'll give you a point-to-point field bolt placement list, as well as a summary. This is the cutting list for the saw in descending order. And here's your nesting report. Remember in the beginning we told it to use 40s, 50s, and 60s with a 2-foot drop and a 1/4 inch kerf on the saw. So if we take these two 14 by 22s and nest them together, we'll have a total length of 39/8. With the 1/4 inch kerf taken off, we have a 3.5 inch drop. If you come down to the bottom of the report, it'll tell you exactly how to order your material. So here's your 16 by 26s. And here's the summary of your nested material. For 1626, you need 4 60-footers, 1 50, and 6 40s. And here's all the material that couldn't be nested and needs to be ordered cut to length. If you want to play with this report, just go back to the settings and change the drop to 3 foot instead of 2 foot, and you'll get much better nestings. But you don't want to make the drop too big, or you're going to be wasting a lot of material, which isn't good either. Okay, then we have our page and line number mill order report without marks and with marks. We also have a built-in troubleshooter. The built-in troubleshooter will first show you the raw bill of material as it was extracted from your drawing. This is the first thing you want to look at to see if it's even pulling off good data or not. The next thing you want to do is look at how it processed the data. In other words, what fields did it put the data in, and did it make the correct decisions? Then the last thing you can do is click on a particular drawing, and if there's any problems, it'll list all the problems. And here on the bottom is where we look for different fields in the bill of material. That happened because I double-clicked on the drawing. I apologize. And typically, if 99% of the time when there's an error and it has to do with the drawing and configuring SoftScan, the first thing we do is turn on the troubleshooter and that resolves it, and then we tell you what you did wrong. If you can't figure out your problem using the troubleshooter, then you simply send an email to support@softsteellink.com, and the same day we'll come back with a response to correct the problem for you. We're very, very good with our support. Okay, now any particular screen you're on, if you press the F1 key, you got context-sensitive help, or you can go use help right from the beginning by clicking the help screen, and then you can navigate your way down. Okay, that's basically SoftScan. In a nutshell, SoftScan will take your bills of material and totally eliminate the tedious task of typing that bill of material into your MIS software like FabTrol, Fabsuite, and so on. In addition, it does an integrity check looking for errors in the bill of material, helps saving you even more time. SoftScan is a program that will pay for itself in 1 or 2 projects. It's a must-have. Thank you very much for watching our demo today. If you have any questions, please feel free to either call us at SoftSteel or to speak to Core Dynamics. Thank you very much and have a great day.